Satoko looked upset that she had been completely ignorant of all this. She also didn't want to accept the reality of having to manage her condition. Her fake laughter sadly echoed in everyone's ears. Keiichi opened his mouth to speak.
その注射を一回でもしないと、あの日みたいになるんだな。
There was a day where she forgot to take her shot. She convinced herself that the principal was her uncle. Her fear escalated, and she thought her uncle came inside the school to take her back home. Once she feels that way, there's no turning back for her.
そうです。だから、僕は聡子がお注射を忘れないように、毎日しつこく言っているのです。
そんな、信じられませんわ。大体何なんですの、末期症状って。私だけそんなの嫌ですわよ。どうして私が、いつそんな末期症状になったって言うんですの？
Satoko's face contorted as tears began to flow from her eyes. I shouldn't have said this. Satoko is starting to remember something she's not supposed to.
ごめん、聡子。思い出さなくていいのです。あれは事故なのです。聡子は何も悪くないのですよ。
An accident.
嘘ですわ。嘘ですわ。リカは全部嘘ばっかりなんですわ。
The others probably had no idea what Satoko was talking about. They don't need to know. They don't want to know about it, because they are her friends. Rena gently touched Satoko's shoulder. She gently touched mine too.
私たちはリカちゃんの話ちゃんと信じてるよ。
ありがとうです。
そして今まで自分一人でよくそれだけの大変なことを背負ってきたね。リカちゃんは偉いよ。たった一人で今日まで人に言えない秘密を背負ってきたんだね。
I never thought Rena would say something like that to me. My eyes were filling up with tears.
人に話せない秘密を背負うってのは悲しくて重いよね。
Rena knows.
私のはリカちゃんに比べたら全然大したことないけどさ、少しはわかるつもりだよ。
そうですね。お姉もよく頑張ってます。お姉になすりつけて楽させてもらってるからよくわかりますよ。
みんなは僕の話を疑わないのですか？
どうして疑うんだよ。全部信じるって言ったじゃねえか。むしろ村の秘密が解けたような気がして、俺はすっきりしたくらいだぜ。そのHinamizawa症候群という病気は感染症で、村に住んでる人はみんなかかってるのかな？
はい、みんななのです。でも昔とは違います。鬼が淵村の頃に比べると、この病気はとてもおとなしくなりましたです。だから別に遠くへ引っ越しても平気ですし、旅行だってへっちゃらなのです。
ただしものすごく低い確率で発症するってんだろ。俺怖くてもう村を出られねえな。
もし病気にかかっても簡単な心構えで病気は抑えられるのです。それはとても簡単だけど難しいこと。
If you think you might be suspicious of someone, don't be. Continue to trust in them. When you become too suspicious of someone, that suspicion will degenerate into a persecution complex, and it will be too late. Mistrust. So long as everyone stays friendly and united, we will never have to worry about this disease. This disease starts with anxiety. Modern people don't believe in curses the way people long ago did. That may be why we're more tolerant to the disease.
なんだ。なら私たちは全然平気だね。
だな。俺たちは仲間で、部活メンバーで、家族なんだぞ。
I mean, really, what we did in this chapter, in this world, a lot of people's problems have basically been solved, except for Rika's in this situation, of course. And I guess for that matter, Satoko knows about the illness, and she has to deal with it.
間違っても仲間を疑ったりするもんか。だからリカちゃんの話、俺は丸ごと信じるぞ。
Well, this is something that I was worried ever since Rika started explaining this about how Satoko is going to react to this, learning that she is a special patient as well in like the later stages of the disease in comparison to everyone else.
そんなヤバい話をすれば、俺たちがその山犬って連中に消されるかもしれないって思って、ずっと言えなかったわけだろ。
I nodded quietly. I don't want to think that the mountain dogs have bugged this room. But if Akonogi overhears this conversation, they would definitely kill not only me, but all my friends tonight. That's true no matter who my enemy is.
ま、だとすると、すぐに部活メンバーは臨戦態勢に入った方が良さそうだね。状況を整理しよう。リカちゃんを殺すと大惨事になると信じてる連中がリカちゃんの命を狙う可能性がある。間違いないね。
可能性でなく、必ず殺しに来ますです。
Well, I can't believe that. Can't believe that my theory is coming true. Rika truly is the source of chaos when she dies. My god.
どうかな。
Huh. Well, I guess this, well, you know, Rika did say this. Let me see. Like, as long as the log will permit me. I'm really dumb. I thought I was thinking so hard. I never actually understood anything. After all this time, I made things clear just by talking about them with my friends. I never have thought it would make such a big difference. Like, if I'm understanding this, it is after she, like, thought about this, like, right now, as she summarized, like, the entire exposition like that, did she think about this. Maybe, like, before, she did not think that her death would cause chaos, because remember, Rika says that she doesn't know what happens like after her death. So I assumed that she doesn't know that her death would lead to like destruction and all that. Like what with the theory of that she talked about before, that Yeri explained. But now she does, so she knows that her death is going to be very important to the village.
リカちゃんが切り札なら、そんな簡単に切っちゃう？そうでございますわよ。切り札は殿下の宝刀。抜かないうちが花ですもの。
Satoko's eyes were still swollen, but she had stopped crying.
甘いですね、サトコ。切り札は2枚以上あるときに限りすぐ1枚切ります。そうだね。人質は複数で初めて成立する。一人の人質の価値は複数の時に比べて格段に落ちるからね。
とにかく向こうの状況がさっぱりわからねえ以上、殺されないなんて楽観はありえねえな。
Everyone nodded in unison.
みーちゃんは山犬って人たちをどう思う？敵かな？味方かな？
かな？
それは問題じゃないだろうね。僕は善良な狼ですって人に羊の番を頼むかい？
疑わしきは黒でございましたよ。
その東京とかいう連中と全く関わりのない人たちに助けを求めた方がいいですわね。
だな。その意味ではリカちゃんが即警察に応援を求めたのは迅速ないい判断ってことになるぜ。大石さんは俺たちの味方なんだよな。
はい。大石には全てを話してはいませんので、僕の命を狙っているのを連続開始事件の犯人、つまり村人。
大石さんにも真実を話した方がいいと思うな。大人の力は重要だよ。
リスクのある一手ですわね。かえって嘘くさくなって手を引かれるとまずいんではありませんの？
いや、大石さんには話そう。あの人今年が定年で昔殺された友達の仇を討つ最後のチャンスだって言ってた。だからきっとどんな嘘くさい話でも信じてくれると思うんだ。
うん。大石さんは聡子ちゃんを助ける時にも警察の立場でありながら私たちに協力してくれた。頼もしい味方になってくれると思うな。
よし、大石には話そう。で、大石は今はしょ？
いえ、岐阜に行っています。高野の死体を確かめに。
ああ、岐阜の山の中でしたっけ。ドラム缶の中で黒焦げって話。でもなんでわざわざ大石ともあろう人が直々なんでしょうね。
高野の死体が違う可能性があるらしいのです。岐阜が協力的じゃなくてあやふやなことを言ってるらしいです。
その山犬って連中は機密保持と情報操作が仕事じゃなかったっけ？あたしはなんだかその死体おかしいなーって思うね。というかあの人おとなしく焼いたくらいで死ぬとは思えないんだよね。
もちろん入江が黒幕で高野を殺した可能性もありますです。山犬のおこのぎはそうだと言っていますです。
監督が黒幕ってことはねえだろう。あの人は悪い人じゃねえと思うんだ。
そうですわよ。目と意とどう発言禁止にしてくれれば基本的にはいい人でございますのよ。
私もhinamizawaファイターズの幽霊マネージャーとして監督は黒幕なんて玉じゃないと思います。どっちかというと利用される感じの人です。いい人すぎるというか。
はあ、誰も高野さんの肩を持ってあげない。
いやさ、監督と高野さんどっちが悪い人ですかって聞かれたらなあ。
高野さんが聞いたら怒りますわね。
Everyone laughed, as though we were in the middle of a club activity. They're after my life. They'll kill everyone here. I mean, go figure. The person that seems so obvious, like right in front of us talking to us that she would be the bad guy, apparently she does some bad stuff. It's very possible that they all get involved in this mess, and they know that. That they could still laugh. It's really significant, I think. I started laughing along too.
客観的に見て高野さんだけ岐阜で死体が見つかるのがすでにおかしいよ。富武さんを殺した風に偽装するなら死体は絶対に見つからないところに隠す。山中で野焼きなんて見つけてくださいって言ってるようなもんだもん。
うん、レナもそう思うな。警察の管轄の及ばない県外で見つかった身元の確認しにくい焼死体を高野さんということにしようとしている気がする。
And that they want to make us think that Takano is dead.
その山犬って人たちはそういうのが本職なんでしょ。
なら構図が見えてきたぞ。山犬ってのは 高野さんの部下なんだろ。山犬の隊長は監督が黒幕なんだって主張してるんだろ。高野さんと山犬ってのはグルだな。
富武さんのあの死に方は監督が殺したと思わせるためなんですわね。そしてそれがわかるのは東京だけ。そして本当の黒幕の高野さんの死体も見つかり、監督は東京に2人を殺したことを疑われて濡れ衣を着せられる。なるほど、これはなかなか凝った罠でございますわね。
I mean, also, if Irie was the bad guy in this entire thing, it kind of makes it feel like too suspicious in the sense that, like, everything is against him. If he was the bad guy, he wouldn't have let this happen to begin with.
爪がいまいちでございますけど。
その濡れ衣ってのにも山犬って連中が関わってそうだね。
Like, I really don't see like any advantage right over here that would tell us that, oh, Irie was the bad guy. He did this, this, and this, so that he would have this advantage. You would have this advantage or that advantage. But no, he's clearly cornered right over here. If anything, Takano is the one who has like all the hands.
なあ、そうと分かったら監督に直接話を聞いてみないか。その方が早いぞ。
そうだね。監督が真実を話してくれるか嘘をつくか、私目を見ればわか。
ああ、レナさん嘘に敏感ですよね。
入江は山犬が監視していると言ってましたです。電話しても出られないか話せないかかもしれませんです。
And they would be able to hear the conversation.
なんだ聞けば聞くほど監督は濡れ衣臭いぞ。というか監督の身に危険が迫ってるんじゃないのか。
うん。私が山犬で監督に濡れ衣を着せようと思ったなら、余計なことを言われる前にご退場願うね。
死体に口なしだね。どうしよう。
大石は岐阜の話が終わったらすぐに戻ってくると言ってましたです。だから時間はわかりませんが、今日必ず来てくれますのです。
S1 glanced at the clock. It was already past 6:30 p.m. and started to get dark.
なんだか腹が減ってきたと思ったらこんな時間なんだな。
We'd usually call it here if this was a normal day, but everyone decided to stay until Oishi came back and discussed what to do.
ごめんねリカちゃん、電話借りてもいい？お父さんに帰りが遅くなるのを電話しないと。
そうだな、俺もお袋に電話しないとな。
あ、私もばっちゃんに今夜は出前でよろしくって電話しないとな。こんな時間に抜けとそんなこと電話したら後でこってり絞られますね。あと警察の人たちの夕食も考えてあげないとね。本家のツケで寿司でも頼むかね。
Everyone had a sensitive reaction towards sushi. Their stomachs were empty after all. The same should be true of those officers too.
リカ、うちも出前にしますの？そんなお金の余裕はありませんでしたよ。さとこ、みんなに自慢の野菜炒めでも作ってあげたらどうですか？無理ですわよ。こんな大勢になんか作ったことありませんわ。
さとこの野菜炒めか。指さえ入ってなけりゃぜひ食ってみたいな。
The
レナもさとこちゃんのお料理久しぶりに食べたいかな。
Kana? Why do I get the feeling that fingers in stir fry was like another world that I was not aware of? At that point, the phone rang.
もしもし、フルデなのです。
よかった。ご無事のようですね。大石です。 岐阜の用事を終わらせましてね。今、沖宮に戻っている途中です。途中のガソリンスタンドから電話しています。
それで高野の死体はどうでしたか？
やりましたよ。やっぱりそうでした。岐阜の資料がとんでもないイージーミスをしていました。連中間違いを認めやしない。ガツンと決めてやりましたよ。高野は車ごと行方不明です。富武殺しについて何か事情を知っている可能性が高いと判断し、つい先ほど高野の捜査を開始するよう指示を出したところです。ついにお社様のたたりの尻尾をつかみましたよ。ここから一気に引きずり出しちゃいます。
Alright. Oishi sounded so motivated. He'd finally found the hint he'd so desperately wanted. Could he actually solve the case though?
それは土産話がとても楽しみなのです。
これからクマちゃんと一緒にそちらへお伺いしますので、詳しい話を聞かせてください。心当たりでもうさんくさい話でも何度も結構です。
はい、僕も全部話す決心がつきましたです。
おやおや、どんなお話が聞けるのでしょうかね。多分あと1時間ちょいぐらいでお伺いできると思います。ところで、受話器の向こうが賑やかですね。お友達も来ているのですか？
はい、みんな心配してうちに来てくれましたです。
そうですか。皆さんは本当に素晴らしいな。
Truly.
私も皆さんと一緒にいてくれた方がいいと思います。賑やかなだけで犯罪の抑止効果は大きいものです。では今から向かいます。後ほど。
今の大石さんか？
はい、今から刑事と2人で来るそうです。
はあ、この部屋にこんなに大勢なんて初めてだね。
Well, as long as Oishi doesn't die on the way here.
何人になるんだろう。
私たち6人に2人来て8人ですの？床が抜けそうで怖いですわね。9人目なのです。羽生、聞いてた？なんだか今回は本当にすごいことになってきた。今回はいけそうですか？うん、いけるわ、絶対。絶対という言葉はなって当然、ならなければ失望する悲しい言葉ですよ。羽生はこの状況になってもやっぱり今日死ぬと思う。
でも死んでほしくないと思っていますのです。
あんたのスタンスは分かってるわ。傷つきたくないから信じない。マイナス思考ならマイナスで当選、ラッキーなら大喜びってわけだ。もうあんたと私の考え方の違いをとやかく言わないわ。あんたは見てなさい、傍観者らしく。
はい、僕は傍観者ですから。でもリカを応援してますですよ。
応援か、ありがとう。でも応援していいの？応援したのに負けると期待を裏切られない？
リカが意地悪を言いますです。
We had a rather harmonious mood going. However, everything on knees was beginning to still over us. Oh, Hanyu. Yeah, you know, I said what I said. Have some hope, damn it. Come on.
腹減りましたね。途中で食事に寄った方が良かったんじゃないですか？
そうですね。もうすぐ8時か。お昼が遅かったから忘れてました。 とりあえず話を聞いたら、おたふくにお茶漬けでも食べに行きましょう。
警官を4人行かせてましたよね。交代を送らないと答える頃ですね。フルデさんが気を利かせて出前でも取っててくれればいいんですがね。
Oishi and Kumagai had passed through Okinomiya and were getting closer and closer to Hinamizawa. They hurried on their way, driving through the dark streets.
フルでリカの全てを話そうっていうのはとても気になるっすよね。
多分相当とんでもない話が飛び出しますよ。あの村はね、本当の名前は鬼ヶ淵村。鬼ヶ淵ってのは沼ですからね。沼の名を冠した村なわけです。
沼なだけにそこが知れませんね。フルでリカの護衛ですけどどうします？
彼女の話次第では秘密の場所にかくまった方がいいでしょうね。Hinamizawaってのは村が丸ごと魔物の腹中と同じなんです。あの村の中では何が起こるかわからない。とにかく聞いてみないことにはわかりません。
フルデ家の当主が命を狙われていて、園崎家次期当主はそれを守ろうと思っている。そんな状況下で誰がフルでリカを？あとは君吉家くらいしか勢力が思いつかないです。
君吉家には臭い話は聞いてないんだけどな。やっぱり村には信仰を軸にした狂信的な勢力が隠れてるってのかな。沼の底がどうなってるのか楽しみです。
The road they were on was cutting through the rice fields, leading them to pass by the scene of Jiro Tomitaka's murder. You know, as they are talking, I just keep thinking, what is Akasaka doing right now? Probably watching TV with his wife right now, not being involved in the story whatsoever. Ain't that just lovely?
高野が富武を放置した。そこまでは間違いないと思いますが、富武のあの異常な死に方は一体何だってんでしょう。鑑識のじいさま、覚醒剤は出なかったって言ったんですよね。
確かに薬物反応は出なかったそうですが、だからって絶対なかったって保証はありません。
Yeah, it's because of what Rika said. The pathogen just disappears after the body dies. He only stays alive if the body stays alive.
この世にはおかしな薬なんてきっと無数にある。それら全部が間違いなく使われていないなんて保証は誰にも出せませんよ。自分が知らない薬だから実在しないなんて、そんな傲慢は刑事が口にしちゃいけない。あったからにはあるんです。だからきっと富武に首をかき破らせる薬は実在する。そいつは犯人逮捕の折にたっぷり喋ってもらいますよ。あるいはフルでリカが話してくれると一番嬉しいんですがね。クマちゃんも今回の岐阜の件で決めつける捜査がどれだけ冤罪を生み出してきたかよく分かったでしょう。
ありゃひどかったっすね。あいつうちの署に嫌がったら俺でも許さないところです。
結局最後まで間違いは認めてませんからね。岐阜県警はあくまでもあの死体は高野美代だったで通すつもりのようです。でもうちは高野美代生存でいきますよ。あとは県警同士のトップ会談で決着するでしょう。向こうのボンミスは確定してるんですから、認めると怒られると思って躍起になって上乗りしてるんですよね。いやはやそういう体質は改めないといけません。
The car suddenly shook. The concrete road had ended, leaving only gravel. At the point where the gravel road begins, you're officially in Hinamizawa. They continued to drive through the woods for a while.
クマちゃん、ちょいと止めて。
は？
Oishi had told him to stop immediately. Kumagai quickly slammed on the brakes. Their seatbelts tighten up, keeping them in their seats.
どうしたんですか？
あの車、何やってんだろうな。こんなところで。
Is it a white van? Oishi tapped on the rearview mirror. There was a van parked just off the road. Rather beat up, it looked like it was used for a private company. There was no reason for someone to park their car here, especially at this time of night. Kumagai also thought it looked suspicious. The car seemed empty, but there was a light flashing in the woods nearby. Probably a flashlight.
不審ですね。こんな時間に。
Drive away, Oishi. You are definitely not equipped with this. They are definitely part of the problem. You gotta run and report to the police / Rika about this. Just act like you did not see anything for right now.
それにしてもよく気づきましたね。
Because it's just you guys versus like highly trained soldiers there. I wouldn't touch it.
いつも言ってます。刑事は四六時中目を皿にしてろってことです。何やってんだろうな。不法投棄かな。まさか死体埋めてるんじゃないだろうな。あるいは刺激不足のアベックかな。
Maybe it's Takano and Okonogi kissing each other. It was a tragic love story. Takano killed Tomitake because she wanted Okonogi all for herself. Tomitake and Okonogi were an item before, in secret.
車のセンスからしてそれはないか。
Quite a complicated, tragic love story here. My God.
なあ、沖宮 PS どうぞ。聞こえてるかな。なはは。こんばんは、さようなら。
こちら沖宮 PS 感度良好です。
車両ナンバー紹介お願いします。獅子骨ハノ4344。
不詳獅子骨ハノ4344。少々お時間もらいますがよろしいですか。
お願いします。
Yeah, it's kind of weird that sometimes they censor that with X's.
おいさん、地図で見るとここ電話会社の施設がありますね。
電話会社の施設って何ですかそりゃ。
It was listed as a facility, but it wasn't staffed. It was just a place where machines were installed. Kumagai wasn't sure how telephone lines actually work, but either way, it seemed like some kind of connecting device was located there.
普通のワゴンだよな。電話会社にゃ見えませんね。
電話会社ならそう書いた車で来るはずっすよね。
委託の伝説業者か何かの可能性もあります。直接聞いた方が早そうですね。
Oishi wasn't sure if that was the case. After all, why would any phone company go to the maintenance so late at night?
ちょいと行ってみましょうか。フォルデさんたちを待たせてますからね。パパッと行きましょう。
そうっすね。
His well-honed detective instinct was trying to tell him something. This feeling wasn't one that Oishi could easily explain. He has a strong sense that something was suspicious, without any real reasoning behind it. Oishi trusted that he could judge others' characters with that sense.
ウグイス2よりウグイス1。車両が1台停車。2人降りました。おそらく刑事です。そちらへ接近中、1分未満で接触します。
It was pitch black, yet they could see the two newcomers clearly. They were probably using a night vision scope.
了解。全隊員注意せよ。ウグイス2から5はグリーンライトを待て。ウグイス7から8は前後 100m のクリアを確認せよ。
待機。ウグイス4、5。聞こえたな。
No, not the green light. Anything but the green light, please. Because I assume that once the green light is lit, something like the worst case is gonna happen.
ウグイス4、了解。
ウグイス5、了解。
ウグイス7、了解。ウグイス8、了解。
ウグイスより本部。ウグイスより本部。 電話設備工作中にトラブル。私服警官2名の職質と思われる。発砲許可を申請。
本部了解。許可を待て。
By the time Oishi and Kumagai reached the phone facility, they were being watched from all directions. There were 2 pairs of binoculars, and 2 sniper rifles pointing at them. The Mondog operatives worked in 2-man units, a sniper and a spotter, to secure the means of retreat. They had all taken different positions, so that they could shoot Oishi no matter where he tried to run. Oh no! Hold on a second. Yeah, 2 pairs of binoculars and 2 sniper rifles pointing at them. They were all in camouflage suits, hiding deep in the woods. Oishi, of course, had no chance of spotting them. The snipers had their rifles trained on the detectives' heads. Oishi and Kumagai had no idea that they were on the verge of losing their very lives. The snipers' rifles had their safeties on, but a flick of their thumbs would have released them. In other words, they were ready to shoot if given the order. The detectives found the fenced-in machinery right behind the parked van. There was a sign there saying that it was the property of the Nippon Telegraph and Telephone Corporation, and another sign wanting people to keep away.
どうもこんにちは。
すいません。作業中ですんで入らないでもらえますかね。
There were 4 men working there, wearing blue overalls. They had a toolbox open and were working on some wires. And let's hope that the toolbox doesn't have like a gun inside it.
どうも仕事中お邪魔してすみません。
Gotta be careful on that toolbox, Oishi.
警察のものでございます。いえね、不思議なところに不思議な時間に車が止まっていたもので、どうしちゃったのかなと思いまして。
そうですか。お仕事ご苦労様です。うちらももうちょっとで終わりますんで。
おたくら、どちらさんです？電電の人じゃないでしょう。
ああ、失礼しました。おこのぎ電気設備工事と申します。あれすいません。名刺を切らしちゃってるみたいです。
おこのぎ電気設備工事さんって会社どちらです？
はい。沖宮になりますけど。
会社の電話番号と住所を教えてください。
なんでそんなこと聞きますか？
電話番号忘れちゃいました？
Oishi looked at them with a piercing glare. Their response was very suspicious. Usually, the vehicle of an electric company is full of various types of electrical equipment and repair tools. However, the van parked there had nothing inside, and looked just like an ordinary car. Also, a company vehicle usually has the name of the company painted on it. But this one was just a plain van with no markings on it. None of that was the reason that Oishi found it suspicious though. It was their attitude that bothered him. They didn't sound nor look like typical contractors. They were obviously not electricians. It was far too late in the day, and there were far too many of them. They were also clearly suspicious of Oishi. However, that was all he could tell just by looking around. He found them suspicious, but had no idea what they were up to. One of the men told Oishi the phone number. Kumagai wrote down the number so he could ask the station to call and confirm it was real.
私らそんな怪しいもんじゃありませんって。
あんたら怪しすぎですって。一体何者です？委託業者なら作業写真用に作業前作業後とか書かれた黒板とかあったりするでしょう。そういうのもないですし、だいたいあんたたちの雰囲気が違いすぎます。
おまわりさん、そんな意地悪言われちゃかなわないです。勘弁してください。私ら早く作業を終えて帰らなきゃならないんです。
Judging from their progress, it didn't look like they'd be cleaning up anytime soon. In fact, it almost seemed like they were just getting started.
もう化けの皮は剥がれてんだよ兄ちゃん。電気屋に化けるときはまずバイトして勉強してからにしな。
Oishi raised his voice friendlily. The members of the Mon Dogs gradually started to look more and more annoyed. Oishi looked over their expressions and gave them a big white grin. However, Oishi had no idea. He thought he could handle these suspicious people with no issues. Of course, in reality, they were horrific demons that he had no chance against. Meanwhile, Kumagai was heading back to the car. He was intending to contact the police department. He was going to call the station using the radio. Then, in turn, the police department would contact the NTT. That way, it would become clear who they were dealing with.
本部よりウグイス1発砲許可。
ウグイス7クリア。
No!
ウグイス8クリア。
The sniper was still aiming at Kumagai's head as he headed back toward their car. The safety, that last line protecting Kumagai's life, was disengaged. The sniper put his finger on the trigger. He was wearing a glove with the fingertips cut out. The finger poking through the hole was very rough and merciless, for as soon as he slightly moved that finger, he would take someone's life.
ウグイス1より狙撃犯オールグリーン。
Kumagai heard a quiet noise. It was similar to the sound of the jump rope that he used to use as a whip when he was little. And that was the last thought Kumagai had in this round. Kumagai collapsed onto the gravel. And that was it. He didn't even twitch. Oishi was laying on his back on the concrete after getting shot in the chest. His lungs were filled with blood, which began to pour out of his mouth. Oishi only realized that he'd been shot when the world began to blur before his eyes. As his world keeled over, he saw a man in a work uniform leveling a gun at him. But it didn't matter anymore as he started drawing on his own blood. Alright. Well.
沖宮 TS より大石はどうぞ。先ほどのナンバーが判明しました。大石はどうぞ。大石応答願います。電波悪いのかな。大石応答願。
出ませんね。大石さんが車両紹介？誰の車だよ。村人の車ですね。至って平凡な。何者だよ。大石さんが聞いてくるからにはただものじゃないんだろ。突起事項欄は完全に空欄ですね。S 号指定もなし、減点もなしだし。
パッシングでもされて腹が立ったんじゃないの？
Well, what is the name?
あの人、根に持つとなかなか忘れないタイプなんだよ。
ウグイスより本部2名を射殺。作業を再開。
本部了解。警官の車両処理は慎重に行われたし。サンサ、ウグイスは警官2名を排除。作業を再開。
おやすみなさい、大石さん。
Okay. Hello there. Takano in a suit?
私の尻尾をつかめて、もう一息だと思ったでしょうに。残念ね。コーヒーをもらえるかしら。
どうぞ。しかし厄介な展開になってきましたね。 R 宅には依然私服警官数名とそれから友人数名がいるそうです。 R は自分が今夜殺されることに感づいているとしか思えません。作戦が漏れています。やはり決行は延期すべきでは。
明日の朝には死体が見つかっていないといけないのよ。お偉いさんたちの日程上、その日が一番都合がいいって話なんだから。作戦は決行します。
Okay, so it is something scheduled by the higher-ups. The crucial part of this final mission was the death of Rika and what came after that. They couldn't just kill her whenever they wanted. Doing it at the right time was vital. Okay, well the question is why?
山犬による過剰な警備にかえって過敏に反応したのでしょうか。
違うわね。漏洩じゃない。予言よ、あれは。富武の死と、そして私ですら知り得なかった偽装死体の状態まで知っていた。あの子は女王なのよ。Hinamizawaの頂上存在の頂点に立つ女王で、巫女で降臨したるお社様の血脈に連なる正当な末裔。神を欺くことなどできない。知られるのは宿命だったのよ。フルでリカをあっさり暗殺などできるわけがなかった。いいわよ、リカちゃん。あなたと私、どちらがお社様の伝説を受け継ぐにふさわしいか勝負しようじゃない。あなたの死はお社様のたたりの最後を飾り、この村の伝説のフィナーレを飾る。私の作り上げた物語はその時こそ本当のたたりになるの。
It was now past 8 p.m. Mion ordered some noodles for us. Her treat. We also ordered some food for the 4 officers, and we all ate together. We were supposed to call it a night as soon as we talked to Oishi, but he is still not here. However, we all took it easy, assuming they'd get here sooner or later. And it's getting late. Once we get to Hinamizawa, there aren't many places to get something to eat. I'm sure they're having a quick dinner before coming here. However, the 4 officers seem anxious. They all have families, but Oishi didn't tell them how late they'd have to be out here. They were hoping that Oishi would bring other officers to relieve them so they can go home. They called the station, but all they said was that Oishi was on his way, and that we should wait, because he'll be here soon.
遅いね、大石さん。
渋滞にでも巻き込まれたんだよ。ちょうど帰宅ラッシュの時間帯にぶつかっただろうからね。
おまわりさんもお昼からずっといてくれてるんですのよね。交代が来てあげないとかわいそうですわね。
そうだな。何時に終わるのかもわからない仕事って疲れるもんな。
警察の人には休んでもらって、私たちが夜景にでも立ちます？聡子のトラップワークで不審者の接近を阻むとか。
甘いですわね、シオンさん。ここは私とリカの家なんでしたよ。常に二重三重のトラップが張り巡らせてありますわ。
そうなんだ。神社で遊ぶときは注意しないとね。
With our stomachs full, the mood in the house had returned to a light-hearted one. True, we shouldn't be so relaxed, but knowing that Oishi would be here shortly made us feel relieved. But he's so late. He said he'd be here in an hour. Mion mentioned he might have gotten stuck in traffic, but I'm sure Oishi was considering that. That's why he told me it'd take him about an hour. It had now been 1 hour since the time Oishi was supposed to get here. I want to believe that he's getting something to eat on the way. I'm starting to get concerned. Oh boy. Oishi still hasn't shown up. It's almost 11 o'clock. The officers are completely exhausted. They had even started to smoke cigarettes outside. My friends are becoming tired too. Satoko is yawning. It's way past our bedtime. Oh, little babies. Everyone else is getting tired and sleepy. We've been spending our time watching TV and reading manga. I can feel my fears succumbing to sleepiness. Today is almost over. I'm going to survive the day I'm supposed to die. Does that mean that I escaped my deadly fate? No. I'll have to fight endlessly from tomorrow on. I was going to discuss that with Oishi. And since he's not here, I don't know what to do from this point on. Suddenly, the phone rang, breaking the silence.
大石さんか。
もしもし、フルデなのです。
夜分遅くに申し訳ありません。沖宮署の小宮山と申します。
Oh?
すみません。うちの大石ですが、そちらにおりますか？
いいえ、僕たちもずっと待っているところなのです。
そうですか。わかりました。申し訳ございませんが、そちらに行っている警官に今から応援が行くので、引き継いだら祈祷するようお伝えいただけますか？
わかりましたです。それで、大石はどこに？
夕方頃、直接そっちへ行くと連絡があったきりだったので、てっきりそちらへお邪魔してるものと思っていました。大石と交代で警官たちが戻ってくることになってたのですが、いつまでも戻らないのでどうなっているのかと思いまして。
That's what I'd like to know. But arguing with the man on the phone wouldn't accomplish anything. I hung up and gave the message to the officers downstairs. It looked like everyone already heard our exchange on the phone.
どうしたんでございましょうね。遅いにも程がありましてよ。
何か重要な仕事があったりして道草でも食ってるとか？
それなら電話すると思うな。これから行くって電話したんだよ。これだけ遅くなったら絶対に電話してくれると思うな。
まさか東京って連中に襲われたとかか？
まさかと言いたいところですが、リカちゃまの言うような連中が相手なら絶対そんなわけないとも言い切れないのが怖いところです。多分急用が入ったんだよ。それで電話をするのを忘れてるんだと思う。向こうも大の大人、それも天下の大石だよ。そうそう簡単には消されないって。
Oh, if only Oishi could have used his AC to his advantage. Maybe he would have survived.
来るなら早く来てほしいですわね。
Just use the AC to freeze the bullet midair, I guess. I don't know. Satoko yawned. Everyone laughs, but some of them are trying not to yawn themselves. We can't stay up forever. We decided we'd call it a night once the replacement officers arrived. I'm sure I've survived past the time I was supposed to die. That's probably because the police were protecting me. Perhaps both Takano and the Mountain Dogs were also on my side, and they took care of the murderer. I don't know who's changing my fate. Maybe my fate hasn't been changed, and I'm going to get killed soon anyway. I don't know if it's because of the police or because of the Mountain Dogs, but the only thing I know for sure is that I'm still alive. Soon, I heard the noise of someone walking on the gravel on the shrine grounds. One of my friends suggested they might be Oishi, but I doubt it. I don't want to expect him and be disappointed when it's not. I'm starting to think like Hanyu.
こんばんは。沖宮署から参りました。小宮山と申します。
He wasn't Oishi. Two of his fellow detectives have arrived instead. They were going to stay downstairs and have the 4 officers return home. They also told my friends to leave.
あとは私たち警察がいますので、 どうぞ皆さんは家に帰ってください。ご家族の方が心配しますよ。
みんなありがとうです。刑事さんたちが来てくれましたし、もう大丈夫なのです。
本当に大丈夫？邪魔でなければ私たちも泊まるよ。
Yeah, can we just let them stay here?
大丈夫なのです。第一、お布団も寝巻きもないのです。
じゃあ明日。これからはなるべくリカちゃんと一緒にいるようにしよう。部活はリカちゃんの家でやるっていうのでどうかな。あら、それなら素敵でございますわよ。
僕たちの家の床が抜けてしまうかもしれませんです。
違いねえな。
Well, a broken floor would definitely be better than bloodied floor.
じゃあリカちゃま、私たちこれで帰りますけど、用心してください。暗闇で一人になるなんてことは絶対しないように。
気をつけますです。
じゃあね。また明日。
はいです。また明日。
See you tomorrow. Am I really going to see them tomorrow? I have no clue. I've tried so many things over the past 100 years. I've done many things, and I have memories of most of them. And that's why I feel so scared on the day I die. It's the only day that I have no memory of. I don't really know if I'm approaching or escaping my death right now. All I know is that this fear is going to continue until I find some kind of solution. As I started getting ready to go to bed, Satoko suggested that I should sleep in my regular clothes, rather than in my pajamas. She was thinking that I should remain dressed, just in case someone tries to attack me in my sleep. It sounded ridiculous, but she was just trying to be considerate. I decided to do what she told me to. Satoko seemed so sleepy until a few minutes ago, but she suddenly started passionately explaining to me all the traps she set on the shrine grounds. She assured me that strangers will end up trapped if they try to sneak inside this building. Lovely babies. To someone else, it might sound like she was just trying to brag, but Satoko was trying to make me feel better. After everyone else left, she noticed how scared I looked. Satoko's kindness, anyone else's kindness. I feel it was the right decision for me to talk to my friends. Even if that won't end up changing my fate.
Rika.
Hanyu showed up again. What is it, Hanyu? Are you gonna continue doom posting us here? She looked upset, so she was probably still thinking that I could get killed at any minute. But I'm actually starting to feel a little better. I might get killed tomorrow, but I feel like I can rest safely at least tonight. I'm more concerned about the fact that Oishi didn't show up. Still, even if he didn't, the other detectives are here, and will stay on guard downstairs without sleeping. As long as they're here, I think I'll be safe tonight.
どうしたの？お腹でも空いたの？出前じゃ甘いのはないからね。冷蔵庫のジュースでも飲む？
Hanyu would usually cheer right up when I suggested drinking some juice, but not this time. Her face looked pale, as if she wasn't even alive. Something out of the ordinary had clearly happened.
どうしたの？
もうすぐ時間がやってきますのです。
That sounded far more like a declaration than a prediction. Even Hanyu doesn't have any memories of my death. There's no way she can tell when I'll be killed. However, she sounded so certain just now. You know, that is something that I have not thought of. I guess Hanyu doesn't know either. Like, doesn't have like any memories of when Rika dies. Otherwise, Rika would have learned from Hanyu how it goes. Perhaps we can feel it in the very cells of our body. Our bodies understand fate far better than we do. But to know, I felt reassured that we could get through it somehow if we were all together. But as I clung to that life preserver with a hole leaking air, I was starting to drown in a sea of despair and struggling to keep my head above water. No, I can't let myself feel that way. I have to believe.
大丈夫よ、羽生。私は抗う。たとえ明日殺されるとしても、今夜殺されるという運命にだけは抗う。
Anya just gave me a look of faint sadness. And that silence told me that my pitiful hope was going to push me down into a futile reality. I stared at Satoko as she continued to brag about her traps. If I'm getting killed shortly, Satoko won't be safe either. I quickly interrupted her talk about traps. The time was 1 in the morning. As it's hardly a big city, 1 AM in Hinamizawa is the middle of the night. The darkness here gets very deep. There was light leaking out from the first floor where 2 detectives sat on guard, but everything else was pitch black. Even the moonlight seemed indistinct.
予定時刻です。1階には刑事2名。2階は消灯してすでに1時間以上が経過します。本部より3佐。結構。
こんなに月の綺麗な夜だもの。始めなさい。
刑事は排除でよろしいですか？
そうね。今夜、古出神社にいた人間は全てが忽然と姿を消し、鬼隠しとなる。
Everyone in the Furude shrine.
それでいいわ。
本部より大鳥。作戦開始。保証の刑事2名は実力で排除せよ。なお発砲は許可しない。繰り返す。発砲は許可しない。本部よりウグイス。大鳥が作戦を開始する。電話線を遮断せよ。
ウグイス了解。遮断する。
They have been working to disable the phone lines, just in case their target tried to contact the police during the attack. That mission was what Oishi happened to bump into.
ほんじゃ、始めるかいね。大鳥湾より全隊員へ。突入準備。1階の刑事2名と2階の同伴者1名を排除せよ。痕跡を残せん。発砲禁止。ガスも使えんね。テーサーを使え。単銃で武装してるぞ。撃たせるな。
I just hope that the rest of the club members, Keiichi, Rena, Mion, and Shion, they will be hiding somewhere. Like, they say that they actually went back home, but their hearts couldn't let that happen, so they decided to stay hidden somewhere and just sleep somewhere until they notice this, and maybe they can do something about this. Let's hope.
おこのぎ、素人相手に手こずらないでよ。
まあ仕事ですね。大鳥7-8前進。バックアップは周辺警戒を厳重にされたし。大鳥7、了解。
Alright, well, let's hope that we're gonna have quite a bit of strength to push back against them. I just hope that it's not gonna be like a clean mission for them. Let's see if we're gonna be able to do something here. The 2 men in uniform slowly approached the building. The mountain dog's uniform is gray, so it didn't blend in with their surroundings at all. However, it doesn't look as suspicious as real camouflage suits. Of course, they look suspicious enough creeping up to the house like that anyway. They could both see light leaking from the door and hear the voices of the detectives. Rika would typically use this sliding door to get inside. The door was locked, but the non-dogs had obtained a spare key a long time ago. They put the key in the keyhole, but it wouldn't go in smoothly. They were certain it would make some kind of noise when they turned it. The detectives would notice them the minute they did that. They'd have to rush inside and defeat them in one swift burst. Phoenix's 7 and 8 glanced at each other.
大鳥7より本部、準備位置に到着。突入指示を請う。
高野です。綺麗に決めるのよ。行きなさい。
了解。突入する。
Clack, clack. He turned the key in a hurry and opened the lock. Alright, well, let's see. Let's hope that at least one of them is gonna get knocked down because of a metal pot, like, on the door frame. By the time the detectives turned around, the door was already open and 2 mount dogs had stepped inside. They had aimed their weapons at the detectives while the latter were still turning around. In a fight like that, the first 2 seconds are the most crucial moments. The detectives collapsed, making minimal noise. No! There were needles stuck in their bodies, and those needles were connected via wires to the attackers' guns. In other words, the weapons those two had weren't ordinary guns. They were stun guns in the shape of firearms. Instead of bullets, they shoot out electric needles that electrocute their victims into unconsciousness. Normally they would be non-lethal weapons that allow the shooter to capture their victim without harming them much. But their tasers had been modified. The 2 dogs started walking up the stairs as soon as they confirmed that the detectives were no longer breathing. But in the next moment, they heard a loud noise above them.
こちら大鳥10。R 以下2名が感づいた。2階の窓から飛び降りたぞ。裏の茂みへ逃走している。
Nice.
大鳥4、5、そっちへ行くぞ。制圧しろ。
大鳥4、沈黙。
Okay, so this is the part where they're gonna run. The Bond dogs are gonna go after them, and Satoko's traps are gonna do their job. Phoenix 4 spotted the 2 girls and started after them, but he suddenly stepped on something hard. Pow pow pow! With a cheap sonic explosion, the area was filled with smoke. That was a trap Satoko had set using firecrackers. Nice! That had proven to be a very fortunate idea. The Mon dogs dropped to the ground, assuming that they were under fire. That gave Rika and Satoko a chance to escape.
なんなんですのあいつらは。リカの言う東京なんですの。多分ね。いいから走って。捕まったら殺されるわよ。
どうした応答しろ。今の音は何だ。
こちら大鳥5、銃撃を受けた模様。R は突破した。追撃する。
くそ、感触玉か何かだ。畜生め。
さとこちゃんね。やるわね。
ああ、情けな。近場の班は急行しろ。人家に逃げ込まれたらアウトだぞ。大鳥18、発見した。追跡中。応援を送れ。
2人は土地勘が強いわよ。早く抑えないと確実に見失うわ。
This wasn't a game of hide and seek. It was a game of tag. Several men in uniform were chasing after Rika and Satoko. They weren't idiots, so they didn't waste any energy on a futile act of shouting, "Wait!" This was a quiet, deadly game of tag in the middle of the night.
どこへ行きますの？バラバラになって追っ手を振り切りましょうです。落ち合うのはミーの家。地下の隠し部屋なら安全だし、外部と連絡も取れますです。
Satoko had no idea that Mion had a basement in her house, but she didn't have time to ask anything about it under her current circumstances. All she did was nod. Bang! The next moment, I felt my left foot catch on something, and I fell down to the ground. I must have tripped on a rock or a piece of concrete.
リカ！サトコは
but Satoko wouldn't move on without me. She came back to lend me a hand. I stood up without her help, but this cost us too much time. One of the men had almost caught up with us. I didn't know what to do. But Satoko, upon seeing him, quickly reacted. Satoko ran toward him and kicked him with all her might. Her foot had landed right in his face. I wish I had a camera. Oof. But there were two more of them right behind the first man. I can see them clearly now. They are the gardeners from that landscape company. They are wearing the same uniforms Okonogi is always wearing. They must be the mountain dogs. Now I'm certain that Takano is the culprit. Now that I know that, I can do something about it in the next world. But if I die now, will I lose my memory again? I can't die now. I need to survive so I can keep my memories. Satoko took something out of her pocket and threw it at them. Yeah, I think that is a good idea. Maybe if we were to survive at least one day, like, the more we survive, the more we're gonna keep this memory with us. It was something like sand, and it blinded them. However, even that could only buy us a few seconds. Satoko tried to run, but she froze as soon as they aimed their weapons at us. Their stun guns are only shaped like firearms. Satoko, not knowing that, thought that they were real guns. Knowing that she'll be shot if she turned and ran, Satoko tried to attack them instead. Of course, there are 3 of them. Most would think it impossible to drive them off, but Satoko didn't think about that. She had a 100% chance of dying if she tried to run, and she might as well fight back, because she might have a 1% chance of defeating them. Satoko is determined to save me, even at her own expense. But I can't stay in this world if it means losing Satoko. I'm dying anyway. I'd rather die for Satoko's sake than lose her. But an enemy was shouting in my mind. If I don't survive this, I'll lose this memory. Oh, fuck. Higurashi, don't you do this to me right now. I know what you have in mind. You're gonna make me do something here, don't you? If I die without keeping this memory, this life and everything I've learned will all be wasted. Should I escape and leave Satoko behind? That's right. I should use this experience to my advantage in my next life. I should just let go of her in this world.
無理ね。それができる魔女なんかになれるものか。
But I know in my heart, there's no way I can win against these guys. I'm sure their backup will get here if we take our time to fight them. Should I fight them for her, or should I leave so I can confront my true enemy? I fucking knew it. Wait, what? Oh. I did not press anything. I think that was Rika. Satoko's bravery gives me courage. If I left her, I lose my motivation to defeat fate. I don't care if I lose my memories. It only took 100 years for me to get this information. I don't care if I have to spend another 100 years in this same June. I can't leave Satoko. Oh.
Satoko, 下がって。2人で戦おう。リカ、逃げなさいって言いましたですのよ。
I had noticed something. They're only aiming at Satoko. There must be a reason why they can't shoot me. So I stood in front of Satoko to protect her. Just as I expected, they put their guns down and prepared to take us out without weapons. I mean, it is an interesting detail. I mean, they definitely want Rika dead. But I guess with this it confirms that they want her dead in a specific way. Otherwise they could have just shot her like right here.
あんたらは山犬ね。
やっぱり黒幕は高野だったのね。私もバカね。あんたたちの正体を知りながら逃げることを選ばないなんて。でもね、私は逃げないの。ここであんたたちに殺されるのが運命だとしてもね。運命なんてね、教えてくれた人がいるから。
They must think this is my final speech. They let me talk until I was finished.
バカな奴らね。だからあんたたちは金魚が救えないんだ。
The next moment, one of them dropped to the ground. Keiichi had run toward him and kicked him from behind. Yes! Oh, I'm so glad. Keiichi had kicked him right in the small of his back, and the dog was squirming on the ground. The other two tried to retaliate, but they were too late. Mion grabbed one of the guy's arms from behind and flipped him down to the ground. Damn! He must be some kind of martial art. I've seen something like that in an action movie before. Rena tried to push the remaining dog down with all her strength, but that wasn't enough to take him out. He tried to aim his gun at Rena, but she had already done what she was supposed to. All she needed to do was get his attention. Shion had snuck up behind him and she fired her stun gun into his neck. The stun gun made a snapping noise, and the dog fell down to the ground with the rest of his friends.
葛西のやつ改造済みとは言ってたけど、こりゃ効きます。シオン、こっちの連中にもお願い。
大丈夫か、サトコにリカちゃん。まさに危機一髪だったな。お前らの足が速いんで追いつくのに苦労したぜ。
Boy am I glad. But you guys gotta run. You gotta run as far away as possible.
ずっと待っててよかったね。張り込んでた甲斐があったよ。
張り込んでたって、あの後お家へ帰らずずっと見張っていましたの、皆さんは。
I imagined.
帰り際にね、すっごく不審な人がずっと草陰に潜んでて神社を伺ってるのを見つけたの。
いやー、よく見つけたよな、あの暗闇で。レナには嘘も迷彩も通用しないってことだな。
So figuring he would leave if they spoke to him, they secretly staked out that suspicious man. They started following us as soon as they heard the sound of firecrackers.
まさかここでみんなに救われるとは思わなかったのです。
とにかくここにいたらすぐに応援が来るぞ。どうするこれから。
私たちミオンさんの家に逃げ込むつもりでしたのよ。地下でかくまってもらえるとかいう話で。
地下最後殿ですか？確かにあそこなら都合がいいです。しかもあそこ武器も隠してませんでしたっけ？そういうのは言わない。とにかく私もうちに逃げ込むのは賛成。あそこには秘密の通路がいくつもあるから連中の裏をかけるよ。
なら急ごう。追っ手が来てる。
A white van was approaching us at high speed. Uh-oh. It obviously belonged to the mountain dogs. The van stopped not far from us, and more people in uniform jumped out. There were at least 6 of them. Oh god. If we all run, the slowest runner might get caught. So we should take them down while we can. 6 of them! I don't know if they have a license, but Miona and Shion know how to drive a car. We can take their van and get away from here.
6人だ。ちょうどいいね。全員の全力でぶちのめして車をいただこう。
それは明暗ですわね。
そうと決まりゃ速攻だぜ。